Unlocking Marital Bliss.
You're so much welcome to Unlocking Marital Bliss with me, Cyrus Rod. It's always a pleasure to have you tuned in. It's always a pleasure to be here that we may bring knowledge to you. Once knowledge comes in, darkness disappears because knowledge is light. And when you bring in knowledge, darkness disappears. When it comes to marriage, we always talk about bliss. So if there is no bliss, it's not because it's not there, it's simply because there is no knowledge and you're walking in darkness. Tonight, I believe many of you are back from school and your parents and you have your kids back from school and many of them are in their holidays. But one of the questions is, do you know who your child is? Do you actually have a relationship with your child? How are we going to raise these kids? How are we going to build them up? Probably they're back. What plans do you have for them? What arrangements do you have during these holidays? Tonight I have a special guest to help me help you out there. And we're going to be talking about parenting. And it will change your life. I just challenge you right now. Talk to a friend, call somebody, and tell them Unlocking Marital Bliss is on. And it's about parenting. See you in a little bit. You're so much welcome once again, and we'll be back. You're still watching Unlocking Marital Bliss with me, Cyrus Rod, and I have my guest. We're going to be talking about parenting, okay? What is parenting? How can we parent best, especially in this generation? Because there were days we grew up in, and parenting, they parented us, and somehow, somewhere, we ended up where we are. But we want to know how to really parent the way God wants it. And I have a special guest tonight, Pastor Sam Mukabi. You're so much welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure to have you here
It's an honor to be here, sir.
to be able to talk about parenting.
Thank you. Yes, for sure.
You know, the last time you were here, you were talking about your 25 years. How did that go? You had a
Oh,
celebration.
oh my God, it was off the hook. It was amazing.
Uh-huh.
I was really, really, really way beyond our wildest expectations.
Wow.
It was so good. We had people traveling from far and wide. A friend flew from the US just to
Wha-
attend, another one from Nigeria.
You know,
Uh,
that's so amazing. Somebody
yeah,
flying in from the US to
yes.
attend your 25th celebration of your marriage.
Yes, sir. Then somebody came from West Nile, and this one had it about 4 days to the time. He drove back, and then he drove back for another meeting back on Monday. So it was really, really touching. It was
One thing I realize is the scripture that says marriage is honorable.
yes, sir.
In other words, everyone should honor marriage, should
sir.
respect it, should sacrifice for it, should invest in it.
Yes, sir.
In other words, somebody traveling in all the way from the US, from Nigeria to come and attend your 25th marriage celebration or anniversary is not a waste of resources. Somebody can say, oh, Pastor Sam, you have a lot of money to waste. Why were you doing that?
Well, I think personally, I'd actually wanted to do something very small. And my idea was, which we actually did. I wanted us to have pastors and their wives,
Yeah,
25 couples, and we did that for 2 days.
yeah.
But my wife said, hey, Daddy, God has been faithful, God has been
Amen.
good, and we need to glorify Him.
Yes.
So our function was not about celebrating to enjoy the years, but to lift up the name of the Lord
That is
for His faithfulness, His
Yes.
goodness, and His
Yes.
mercy. And I think for about 80% of the people who came, they said the service was the highlight for them. The Thanksgiving
Yes.
service, our children led the praise and worship.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yes, sir. That is very good. And I see the way you honor the Lord and then you honor the marriage. In other words, for those out there who think, well, celebrating 25 years is just wasting money. No, it ain't. It's not wasting money. It's actually glorifying God, thanking Him. Because many people are falling off the road. But if we have people that are making it like He's doing, we ought to give God glory. It's not a waste, it's called honor. Because Hebrews 13 declares, verse 4, marriage should be honored by all men. Everyone must honor marriage.
Yes, sir.
Everyone, no matter who you are.
Everyone, sir.
Now we'll be back. I heard from your vacation, huh?
Yes, sir.
You even had a vacation. I had to grab you before you go so far.
Yes,
So you can come over here and we talk about parenting.
yes, sir.
And straight away, I would like to dive in when it comes to parenting. What is parenting? You're a man, you're married, 25 years, and how many kids do you have?
We have 4 biological.
4 biological kids. And now you are fit to tell us what parenting is.
Yes. Now, parenting actually happens to be a very close subject to my heart because I grew up as an orphan. My dad was killed in 1973, and that was about 3 years at that time. And I was the 7th in a large family. And so growing up and the things that happened to me, I grew up a very angry young man, which led me to start that BBC Bad Boys Company. And I was a wild, angry boy. And so part of what I really desired was if I ever have an opportunity, I want to parent my children. And so parenting for me is really close to my heart. Now, for us as Christians, you don't have the luxury of testing before you marry.
Yeah.
Because when I gave my life to Christ, I really wanted to be what it's supposed to be. So
Amen.
I remember when I used to share my stories with the people that I related with, many of them would just say, wow, I think I like you, but hearing your past, I don't think I want to be married to you.
They were not sure of God's transforming power.
They were not sure. But so like about the 4 of them are related with deeply, one of the things I always said, that I believe this is going to work, but if it ever never works, I am taking the children. It's like, it's that close to my heart.
Yes.
I didn't want any child to grow up wishing they had a father. So I think
The
for
way you
me,
grew up.
the way I grew up. So I think for me, the way I look at parenting will be a bit different from most people.
Yeah.
Because I really think we really, especially for us as men,
Yes.
we really need to think about it and make sure that when we commit for marriage, we are also committing for parenting.
When we commit for marriage, we're also committing for parenting. Now, that is something very, very important. So when you commit for marriage, for better, for worse, till death do us part, no matter what comes my way, you're committing the same with the kids. But before we go into that, which is very vital, you mentioned something very pertinent when you were studying, and that is, I grew up as an angry young man. What caused this anger?
I think for me it was a host of things.
Yeah.
First of all, our dad was very good from the stories we hear. And so
by the time he died, you really didn't know him.
I
You
just
were
had
3
started
years.
knowing him, just
You
barely
were
knowing
very
him,
young.
But like everybody says, I looked exactly like a splitting image of him.
Okay.
And so I really, one of the things was, hey, I wanted to replace him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had nobody to help me, so I was kind of lost. And then
Yes.
people always were comparing, oh, your father, none of you will ever be like him. That also was not so good,
Yeah,
like
you
so.
felt that you couldn't measure up.
Yeah, I couldn't measure
He
up.
was way up there.
Way up there, like even this morning we were chatting with my siblings. My dad died at 47, but the things he had done by then, oh my God, I mean, like I've not even achieved half of them right now. With all the experience and all the things that I don't know, there was something about him.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, looking back, and then of course when dad died, his brothers wanted to inherit mom and the land he had left. He left quite a bit of land.
To inherit your mother.
Yeah, you know how they do it in our tradition that
Yes.
when a brother dies, his brothers take over
Take over everything.
Yes. And so when mom said no, because she was a Christian woman,
They said you're gonna see fire.
yeah, they hated the woman and hated the children that the woman gave birth to. And so that annoyed me. But I think for me, what really now tipped the scale, we were for Sunday school in church, and they were teaching us about, I don't know why they chose to teach us such a big subject of the omniscience. I don't know, those big words, omnipotence of God.
Yes.
And I remember our Sunday school teacher was explaining and said that everything you see, God plans for it. And my young mind was not in agreement. So I put up my hand in the class. I said, when you say everything, what do you mean? Good and bad? Say, yes, good and bad. And I shook my head. I said, I don't believe you. God is good. He cannot plan bad things. Yeah. And then I said, well, whatever you say, God plans everything, even the bad things. Now, I'd been told my father and another uncle called Francis Manana had built our home church. So in my young mind, there is no way God would plan to kill a man who has built him a house.
I get you.
You know, so at the end of the class, I still went to the teacher, and the teacher said, it's true. It's God who planned it. So for me that day, I said, me and God were over. And so when I went to secondary school, I was given two names, Sam, James. So I dropped the two names. I called myself Mukabi'S. From that time, I said,
What does that mean? Mukabi'S.
Zema is my father, Mukabi is me, so Mukabi'S. So it's Sam, Jim, those.
Hey, you didn't want this
That
so-called
God who plans to kill people's parents so that the children suffer. You know, and for me, it took a miraculous, action. Like, so they prayed for me. I had a goiter, which I'd had for a number of years. So when that goiter disappeared miraculously and instantly, for me, that was the beginning of thinking, oh my God, there might be a God. If he can still have a BBC leader, Bad Boys Company leader, then there must be a God. And so for me, part of what I bring to parenting is informed by what God is and how he has touched my life.
How he has touched your life. You talked about, based on your environment, the anger was built up in you, and you are angry at yourself that, probably you couldn't measure up. You were angry at God who does not care. You were angry at everybody else around, including your uncles who wanted to inherit your mother. So there are many young boys, young girls, based on the environment, and they've built such an anger. Your anger drove you away from anything decent and took you to initiate and establish the Bad Boy Company.
Yes, sir.
Bad Boy Company. What were you thinking? Did you ever believe that having a Bad Boy Company, what were you looking for? Like a sense of belonging?
So what happened? Okay, I also need to put in this. So when I was growing up, if it was today, they would say I was trapped in the wrong body, because when I was young, I was really fat. I had big legs. I had a big bum, and basically, actually, I grew up, let me say, in a girl's body. And I think I want to say this because there are so many young people who look at how they look and make judgments about themselves apart from what God has created them to be.
Yeah.
And so actually, when I was young, some of my nicknames, when I especially low primary, they used to call me Sissy, for sister. And part of what I decided was like, I'm going to show these people that I'm not a sissy.
Okay.
I'm not sissy. And then, of course, the other challenge I had at home was the sister I followed was extremely brilliant. Like, she would be first term, second term, third term. Every class, she topped the class. And my young brother was, initially he wasn't doing so well, but when he picked, he did very well. So I was like, in the middle of these guys who are extremely brilliant. And you keep hearing all these kinds of statements about how you never amount to anything.
Yes.
You are not as bright as your sister, not as bright as your brother, the comparisons. Like, so I'm thinking, So if I cannot be good, then if I cannot succeed at being good, I think I can succeed at being bad. And if I'm going to be bad, I'll really be a bad guy. You know, part of our dream when I was growing up, I wanted to become a mercenary, have a mercenary army that people can hire to do things. But I wanted to be a mercenary army that does good things, so I bring order. So it affected.
And that's what you had in your mind.
It affected my education. So like I went into, boxing, taekwondo, and then I realized all those things had order. So I did street fighting, stuff like that.
Now, that is totally wicked.
Yes, totally wicked, but it was my life. I mean, if you can't succeed at anything, you could rather succeed at something. That was my reasoning as a young man at that time.
Yes. And you've mentioned something when we talk about parenting. Today, it's becoming a huge problem. Raising up a child in order to be all that God wants them to be.
Yes, sir.
You said when you grew up, you were fat, you had hips, you had the butt, you had your legs and everything. And everybody would think probably you are trapped in a girl's body.
Yes, sir.
Today, we have people that actually come up with such thinking, and straight away, these kids are told, you're not good enough to be a boy. You can as well go for surgery, and then you begin becoming a woman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a living testimony.
Exactly. You're a man. Nobody can even believe what you're telling us, the way you were.
I had my lower part was bigger, my upper part was small. But now I'm actually, I think, out of shape. I need to go back and build my lower part again. And I think it's a scheme of the enemy.
Yeah.
And I think for me it was worsened because I didn't have anybody close enough to know what I was going through. And and then of course, unfortunately for us today, if children have nobody to talk to, they'll go to the media.
Yes.
And then the media has all these funny ideas that you are saying that like tell people maybe
be what you feel like.
Be what you feel like. And at one time I just gave up on life. I just didn't want to belong. I didn't want to, like being a black sheep of the family.
Yes.
Like everybody's doing so much better than you. Yeah, and then of course what didn't help the situation. Most of my friends had, like low primary, had their small girlfriends. So I also wanted to get one. And but being raised as a Christian, I didn't know how to approach a girl. So I remember I went to the book of Song of Solomon. And then I xeroxed out some very nice, verses. And so I requested for the book. I say, there's something I didn't copy. Can you help me with your book? So I slid the note in. And when now Monday came, that was a Friday. That was my longest weekend.
Yeah.
When this girl came back, she I don't know why, that day was so bad because the HM came and was addressing us. And he said to them, talking about discipline. And as I talk about discipline, there are only two punishments: suspension and expulsion. And it was tough. I'd never seen our headmaster like that. And then I thought, and every time he talked, he was looking my direction. And I thought, my God,
days were over.
My days were over. And then suddenly I hear somebody walking, coming, like from behind. But when I looked, all the teachers were there. So I'm thinking, who is walking? Like my heart was racing. So this person stands right behind me. And when I looked down, I saw her feet.
Oh.
My God. So I prayed, may this world swallow me. But I am here, so it didn't swallow me.
Yeah.
And she gave me one of the hardest slaps.
Hey.
On parade, sir.
Hey.
Slapped me so hard, and she went like, I don't know how girls do that long one. And then said, look at yourself, Jiggerman. That's another problem I had. In the whole huge family, it was over 20. I was the only one who was being, eaten up by jiggers. And so she said, Jiggerman, I'm not your type. And then she walked off. That also just again affected me. So I think it's good I bring that in because so many young people are going through all kinds of things. One small girl has rejected you, and that makes you think you are not good enough.
That is so true.
And maybe you are a girl. One stupid boy, told you they loved you, and then you discover they were more interested in your friend, and then you are all feeling all kinds of things.
Yes.
But I think I like that you highlighted that part, because especially for the parents, sometimes we actually have no idea what our children are going through, the
That's it.
struggles they are going through.
That's true.
Like at home, because I felt I was not liked, so I tended to do so much so that I'm also accepted. And I was like some people would think I was doing that because I was obedient, but I was doing that because I just also needed somebody to like me.
Yes. You are doing things in order to be accepted. I think you've brought out something that I believe those that are watching us out there, most people today are struggling with rejection. And nobody wants to be rejected in the whole world. Nobody. We all want to be loved. And we want to be loved unconditionally, not conditions whatsoever. So when it comes to something like this, we grow up, you don't have a father, and mama is struggling to just keep you alive. You literally do not build a relationship with anyone. And because that misses out, it is pushing you to start the girlfriend, boyfriend thing, even when it's not your time. Because the Bible talks about he who finds a wife. But now you've lowered the level to settle for a girlfriend. All to be accepted, all to be loved, all to be appreciated. That means if there was somebody you could relate with at home who would say, I accept you, Mukabi, the way you are. You are my son. I love you. I'm there for you. Gives you a sense of belonging. Then with that sense of belonging, you're able to step out with confidence. But when you don't have a sense of belonging, you can't step out with confidence.
No, you can't.
So you're only afraid that you're going to be rejected. Then you begin stepping out to work so that you'll be accepted, which you have said.
Yes.
You do things and everybody's like, oh, yeah, but you want to be accepted, to be loved, to belong. In our generation, you say your father was never there, but today we have fathers that are not dead, but they're still alive, but walking dead when they're not there. Mothers that are not there, and especially as fathers, when we are not there. And when we are not there, what do you have to say? There was no father. Look what you became. If God hadn't come in, you would not be alive today.
Not at all. Not at all, sir.
So the role of fathers, I want you to talk about that. The role of fathers in parenting. Are we just going to bring money and go, or are we supposed to participate?
Now, I do, I teach, I teach leadership, I do parenting, I do revival meetings, I do counseling and all kinds of things. Now, one time I was teaching a class, and there was this old man who kept shaking his head, and he really looked sad. So during break, I always watch what's going on. So during break, I go to talk to him. I say, sir, you kept shaking your head. He said, I was looking at you. I loved my family. I like how you are talking. I said, but I was looking at you and feeling sorry for you. He said, because I educated my children. Out of the 8, I think he said 4 were educated in the US, 2 were in the UK, 1 in Germany, I think 1 was in Holland. He says, but you know what? My children have ganged up with their mother, and they don't like me. And one of the children has told me, when are you dying? So that some people can have peace. And the guy says, I feel so bad that I wasted my time. I educated these guys. Their mother apart from demanding for me to take the children to the most expensive schools, did not contribute. Now they say their mom was there for them. That got me thinking.
Just a second. Their mom was there for them. Seems like daddy is totally forgotten. Daddy's out of the picture. We'll be back in just a minute and find out how daddy stays in the picture.
Unlocking marital bliss. Unlocking marital bliss.
We'll be back. Once again, you're still watching Unlocking Marital Bliss with me, Cyrus Road, and I'm always excited. Before we took a break, yeah, I'm excited about bliss in marriage because marriage is not for us to just struggle. No, we got to enjoy it. Let me tell you something. Before we took a break, my guest was still talking about the role of the man, and he was giving us a testimony during one of his seminars. So, Pastor Sam, you talked about this guy. Could you continue?
Yeah, so when he said that, it really got me thinking. He did.
He feels he's separated now.
Yeah, he did everything. I mean, he did everything. He says initially he went to the UK. That's where he started his working. He did all kinds of jobs just to make ends meet so that his kids can have the best life. And so from that time, so I started now taking interest. And I looked out for old guys and I started talking to them just to find out, as you teach, you need to have information. And like all of them were not happy at all. Like most old men are alone,
Grumpy.
and when the children come back, they will go and, hi daddy, how are you, fine? Hey, and then they will go and spend most of the time with their mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then if daddy has been given, say, 50,000, mommy has 150 or more.
That's true.
And then they still want daddy's 50 to also take care of the family.
Yes.
So that really got me thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started looking backwards. And then that's when now I started feeling sorry for the men. And like if a man has to provide,
Yeah.
then he can't be there for the family. Then if a man is there for the family, then he can't provide. And unfortunately, men are accepted and appreciated for their provision and for what they do. They are not appreciated for who they are. Moms are appreciated for who they are because they are there. If a man is there, they'll say, our father is a useless guy, he's just there, he doesn't do anything. If a father pays fees, nobody knows. If a mother pays fees, everybody will know. One time a lady came to me and said, Pastor, pray for me. I said, yeah, he said, at home, I'm both a husband and a wife. I said, I don't understand. So I said, so how is it working? So at least you still have your breast. So like the other parts of the husband are on you now. He said, no, that's not. I'm doing everything. I said, no. When we do the things that you people do when we care for children, we don't become wives. We just become caring parents. And so I discovered something has happened. Like people look at us, men are looked at as just providers. And so that's what we do. But if you're providing without getting in touch, then your provision is actually wasted because people say, yeah, it is his responsibility. Let him do it. School fees is his responsibility. Rent is his responsibility. Building the house is his responsibility. Your pastor. So we go for functions. And I don't remember any graduation where I've gone and they spend a lot of time talking about daddy. It always goes like this. I thank God for his goodness, his kindness, and his grace. I thank daddy. Some people thought we had money, but daddy sacrificed. Thank you, daddy. When it comes to my mom, they kneel and, mommy, thank you so much. Mommy, you are there for us. And I'm sitting there myself and I'm thinking, okay. And me, I like asking. So I moved close and asked the graduate, so is it the mom who paid fees? No, it was dad. So why didn't you cry for daddy? Because without that school fees, this caring of mommy was nothing. You know, I mean, she was always there for us. That was tough. Say, yeah, because he's spending money on you and he wants that money to work. He can't come and say, oh, go and play. He had to tell you, hey, my friend, go and work hard. Because he's making an investment, he's expecting something to come out.
Something to return.
You know, something to return. So, you know, that really challenged me. And I told myself, from today, you asked the question before we went, how can we be felt? So I told myself, I'm not only going to be providing,
I'm going to be felt.
I'm going to be felt. I need to be there. And like, I have gone for all visitations of my children. The only 4 I missed, I was out of the country.
Yes.
I've gone, like, at a certain time, all my kids were in King's College, Budo. And you know, they have Founders Day, then they have Class Day, then they have, oh my God, sometimes I'm like 5 visitations in one time.
Yes.
And you know, like, I talk to the children because they're my friends. We talked. So one time I agreed with them, say, hey guys, I need to come 5 times. But 5 times means that's going to be fuel. So one of the boys said, but you know what, Daddy, I think for me it will work. So we reduced them. Instead of doing the fuel, you just send it as pocket money. And for me, that made sense because you don't only come to see them, you also have to bring Grab, then you have to bring pocket money. Yeah, you're spending. And so we agreed, actually. Totally agreed, and I was excited. And so when the mom came, say, oh, okay, so mommy, this time you are not going to come all the 5 times. We agreed with Daddy. And then he said, okay, so but how will you feel when we don't come? So of course we'll miss you, but I think it's okay. So then she comes and says, kids are going to miss us. And we have agreed with the children. And you know, like, so I'm thinking, okay, so what do we do? So when the days came close, she says, Daddy, it's okay, we can let you be. I think, let me go. And I said, no, you are not going alone. So of course, initially I was coming saying that, look at what this woman is doing. She knows we don't have money. But then I thought, no, I'm not doing this as a competition. I'm doing this because I want to be felt. It turned out, actually, that was one of our best days in visitation. Like, we at a place where we are supposed to go and talk to the teacher, you know, they called it Class Day, I think.
Yes.
So my son said, you know, if we go to talk to the teacher, we're going to be so many people there, and I know what she's going to say. I am not serious. I'm not focused. So why don't we sit with you and you talk to us? And I thought that was one of the best visitations we ever had. And so we talked, and all of them contributed, and we talked, and we talked. And at the end of the day, that's the last time I ever went to that Class Day and I talked to the teacher. Because we would look at it, and I would ask them, so are you happy with the results? And then, like, together they would advise each other. And actually, that's how my kids have done very well, like, because I was present. And for the first time in my life, on the 29th of July, I attended a graduation, and they talked about God, they talked about the mother, and I thought, oh my God, it's here again. And then they talked about the father, and that was me. And my daughter came and jumped the chairs and hugged me. I felt like, ooh, thank you, Jesus. And I felt so accomplished because finally, the man has been appreciated.
Now, you see, I really do appreciate that. You said, finally, the man has been appreciated. Yeah. And this is something, the man wasn't appreciated because he's male.
No.
He wasn't, you were not appreciated because you came in and you hold the title of father.
No.
You were appreciated because you were functioning.
Thank you, sir.
You gave everything up and you said, I'm going to be there for my babies. I'm going to go. It's not just only providing, because this is what I usually say. It's so easy to give you presents without giving my presence. But what fathers need to learn is that if you're not giving your presence, you get into the lives of your children, because the only way you can connect with them is to get where they are and then understand them. The only way Jesus could connect with us was to come down to us and be with us. So how are you going to be a father if you are not reaching out in your child's life? Providing school fees is never enough. That's not parenting. Anybody can pay your tuition. But being able to enter somebody's life, sit down with them, and you go for the visitation, and you check their classwork, and you say, how does this happen? In other words, what you did is something most people have forgotten. And this is where most men, old men, are grumpy and complaining, and where you find that the kids come and they put mama aside because mama is going to interact with the kids even emotionally. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about the other? The more mama opens up and gets into the kids' life, the more the kids become attached. But the more daddy is just grumpy, I came back, I'm hungry, nobody passed by me. So there is no relationship. You are not raising your own babies. Then somebody else is going to come and create that sense of belonging in them, gives them audience, gives them a moment to talk. And the moment they open up and begin talking, they begin connecting. As they begin connecting, usually it's going to be mama, because we grew up in a home like that. Daddy shows up and everybody takes off.
I've seen that.
Nobody stays. And then daddy stays all alone in the sitting room. We grew up in a big family, and then all the kids would come in to say good evening, and then you're like about 10 kids over there just stepping on each other, and he would just say, hey, 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 get out, get out, get out. Now, there is no connection
At all.
at all. So when I become 70, the kids are gone, and I never practiced talking to people. So I'm all alone. I can't even talk to my wife. I'm still grumpy. I'm still angry. This is what you talked about.
Yes, sir.
I'm still angry. I was angry as a boy. Now I'm angry at 70
And frustrated because
and frustrated.
whatever you did has not worked.
It has not worked. You thought I spend money, but money is not the real thing. What connects us is being there,
Yes, sir.
being there, going to school. One time, there's a situation where I had a son, and so one of my sons came home and said, Daddy, I don't like the way the teacher is treating me. The teacher is bullying me. Do you know it's so possible to have teachers in class who pick on kids?
It happened to me, sir. It did
It
happen
happened to
me.
you too.
Oh my God.
So
I don't
when-
want to go there.
I had to go there. I said, okay, why are you picking on my baby? I really never meant it. I said, no, you are here to be a teacher, to be a role model. Why are you picking on my baby? I remember somebody telling me, please don't start that because they're going to hate on your kid. I said, if anybody's going to hate on my kid, that's going to be war.
Yes.
You're declaring war. And I went over there, I talked to the administration, and the teacher said, okay, I understand. I will not do it again. I say, no, you're going to say that in my kid's presence,
Yes.
that you will not do it again. And they're like, but I think that's too much. I said, it's not too much. Because when you begin causing trauma to my kid, then it will be this kid struggling with this whole thing. I'm not worthy. I don't measure up, but simply because the teacher was doing this nonsense.
Yes.
And I said it. We even went to the class and it said, students, this is so-and-so. It's not good to bully. It's not good to pick on kids. I made them do it.
Wow.
I made them do it. And there, it was an attachment. But nobody ever picked on him. And he performed very well.
Yes, sir.
Nobody ever picked on him again. Now, this is a guy growing up. So I want you to think of the memories when he thinks about daddy. Daddy was there.
There for me, yes.
Daddy was there for me. So no matter what happens, daddy was there for me. And I've been like that to every one of my kids. You mess with them, you're going to mess with me. This kind of bullying, picking on them, it happened to my daughter too. And I went and I said, guys, you're a teacher. You're supposed to be a role model. You don't come in to bully and pick on kids. Be a role model. Not that I was saying, oh, don't rebuke or what. No, I was saying, don't traumatize these young minds. So I started being involved. And there is, let me tell you, recently I had a situation where a friend of mine has a child and the friend is out of the nation. Then I hear the child fought at school, some secondary school around here, and they fought. So they called me in the night. They say, because that friend of mine says he trusts me, will trust me with his kids. So they called me in the night and said, hey, this kid has fought. We need you to come pick them up. Picking up the kid would be about 11 p.m.
Wow.
I said, has the kid, is it an emergency? I said, oh yeah, it's an emergency. So the deputy called saying it's an emergency. I said, can you take them to a hospital if she fought and she's doing bad? Oh, no, not that. I said, you said they fought. So how about the other guy they were fighting with? Yes. Oh, no, it was a scratch, girl's cat fight. And I said, so you're calling me at this time and do what? To come and pick her. I said, I'm not coming. It's 11 p.m. I never delivered that child at 11 p.m.
No.
I delivered that child during daytime.
Yes.
And if you want that child out of the school, it's going to be during daytime. So I went the following morning. And they were like, your child, this child, we know you're responsible. And this is what they told us. She fought. I said, okay, so where is the other person? Since it was a fight, it wasn't somebody attacked. It was a fight. Or somebody beat another one. So where is the other one? Oh, we've called the parents. They're going to take the kid away. I said, oh, okay. So we just request that you take the child, and then after that, then we shall have a trial, and you listen to what they did. I said, so you're now convicting and condemning this kid before a trial. How twisted is this whole thing? Before even a trial. But anyway, let me excuse that, okay? So go get your things from the dormitory. So she went to pick her stuff from the dormitory. When she came back, she said, but you know what? The other girl has gone to do her paper. I said, so this administration is telling me lies. I went to the administration. The person who had said that had disappeared. And the other one was there. The director of studies was in. I said, we are very sorry. I said, you are telling me lies? What kind of nonsense is this? I said, no. I told this child, get your things, go back in the dormitory. You're not getting out of this school. I told them, you touch that girl and get her out of this school and you traumatize her, you're going to deal with me. Number one, that girl needed a fair trial. You never gave it to her.
Yeah.
And this constitution, I mean, is so clear. Anybody is considered innocent until proved what? Guilty. But you just wake up in the morning and you kick the child out. I say, and she's in senior 4. I say, it's time for mocks. You're going to do your mocks. And hey, whatever suspension, I cancel it. I don't need it. This child is staying here. And I drove my car and left the school.
Wow.
That child was given a paper. The child is still there. She's finishing her mocks.
Yes.
No more suspension. I was there.
That's the point. So one time, my daughter comes back. She must have been about P2, I think it was. P2, P3. And she was crying.
Okay.
And like generally as fathers, sometimes we don't follow through. So... but I just said, hey, my girl, why are you crying, baby? And then she went like, Daddy, am I a bad girl?
Oh, no.
I said, what did you just say? My girl is bad.
No.
I said, yeah, teacher. And this teacher is actually one of my girls in charge. So I said, teacher, said I was a bad girl. I said, of course you are not. Have I ever said it? I said, that's why I'm wondering. So can you imagine if she never had a father
Who was there?
who was, number one, was always say she was a good girl.
Yes.
And that's why I always tell men, let no man ever tell your daughter they are beautiful, they are good, before you have done it yourself. Because she, like, everything
I
she
want
has
you to
had.
say that again, looking in the camera.
Yes, I'm saying like every father needs to know this. Let no man ever tell your girl that they are good, that they are beautiful before yourself. You need to do that. And when I did that for my girl, so like when this happened, she was like, this is not what I'm used to.
Yes.
Then she comes to me.
Something
So
is wrong.
something is wrong. So I almost, like as a former bad boy, God has changed me, but what I learned, I still know.
You can still.
I don't want to get into confrontation. One of my prayers every day, lead me not into temptation.
Yes, sir.
Because I can still throw my punch or something.
Throw the punch.
Yes. So,
Yes.
and so what happened is I took the girl aside and I said, but that's not true. So I thought if I go to talk to this teacher, number one, as you said, they may either pick on her or they will ignore her.
Yeah.
So what I did, I said, I'm going to empower this girl.
Yes.
So that she can actually begin learning how to fight for herself. So I said, you know what we're going to do? When you go back to class tomorrow, this was a Friday, so I had the whole week to spend time with her, tell her how good she is, how she's a confident lady, and how she's going to be a powerful woman who will defend many. Yes. So if they have said that to you, maybe they are saying it. Yeah, they keep saying that to all the children. They call us monkeys.
Oh, my God.
So I say, you know what? When you go back, take her aside and tell her, why did you say I was bad? Mm-hmm. And then if she's taking time to answer, tell her, when I told daddy said it's not true. Because I was on the school management board.
Yes.
So if I know that was going to really shock her, and I knew she will never do it again. So that morning, I see a border come, somebody jumps off, almost fell down, came and fell down. Please don't get me fired. I love my job. And of course, I've already forgotten what happened.
Yeah.
And I say, so what are you talking about firing? You never, your daughter came and talked to me. I said, it's good you brought yourself. You know what? Consider yourself fired. Because if they don't fire you, I'm going to sue the school. Like I did some drama there. So what happened is, so I told her, I'm going to give you one of the hardest punishments. So if this girl did not have a connection with the father, you had damaged her.
That's
because
true.
You see, one of the things I learned is that children always grow up to be what the most important person in their life says they will be.
Okay.
Thank you. So whatever you wish them to be, when you say it, that's what they become. So just as I wrap up on this small one, it's like, so I told this girl, this woman, I said, from today, this is your punishment. I want you from today to make sure every child you meet, you tell them they are good and they are wonderful. Yes. If you ever see any child who is sad, you need to go and talk to them. And there are many teachers in that school that I'm going to ask to watch you. And I've already, the letter is here that I'm going to write a complaint about you.
Yes.
And so that was about a month, I think, to the visitation.
Yeah.
So when we have a visitation, people kept putting about the teacher, let me call her Teacher Nagundi. Where's Teacher Nagundi? Like everybody was asking, hey, my child tells me you have helped them, and guess what? Like every teacher gave her some money.
That's good.
And what happened is that the HM decides to leave, and teacher who was in low primary was made head teacher of the school.
Wow.
And what changed the whole thing is because I told her that as a teacher, you are not supposed to be oppressing people, but you are supposed to be turning these people into people who are going to build this country, so that people are not disappointed.
That is very good. You've mentioned something as we wind up now and wrap this up. Whatever a child becomes is so much based on what we, the parents, say. What we say into them. They may make a fault or do something bad. Don't call them bad.
Thank you, sir.
They still have their name. They may do something that doesn't add up. Never use negativity against them, because that gives them a new identity, which they begin to accept and then begin to follow through. And they never look at anything good, because they say, after all, I'm bad. Even daddy calls me bad. Even mama knows it. So what else can I do? So I really believe when it comes to parenting, like you've brought it out, we need to watch our words,
Yes, sir.
how we bring the words out. What we speak into them, like you've said, is what they're going to become.
Yes, sir.
If you call them fool, they will never go far away from that.
No, they will never.
If you call them smart, they will go towards that.
Yes, sir.
They will become all of that. Now that you've brought all this out, and look what that lady became, I want you to look in the camera and speak to fathers to stay.
Yes, sir.
Because many fathers have walked. Many fathers are not parenting. As long as they pay tuition, that is one category. Category two, they don't care whether they pay tuition or don't pay tuition. They're not even there. Is there going to be a day of reckoning when they grow old? Are they going to become like that grumpy man? Look in that camera, Pastor.
Yes. So, fellow men, I feel your fire and your force. And I'm saying this as a man who has gone through tough times. When I married my wife, she was getting 6 times my salary, which actually never used to come on time, not once. And, I worked hard, and me as a pastor, of course, for us, we pray and things like that. And guess what? Her salary was doubled. So every month she was getting my whole year's salary. And so I know as a man how it feels to be inadequate. But I also come to say this, that it helps when you are there, even in such a case. At least if you are not the one paying the fees, at least you should be the one that goes to school to attend all the functions. There should be something as a man that you are doing that adds value to the people that God has put in your life. And I think you should be out on the lookout for my book, which is coming out soon, which is talking about the amazing family life. And this book, there's a whole 6 chapters that deal what do we get from our families. And I also want to say this as I talk to men out there to be present. I also want to sneak in this to tell the women, please, mamas, help us to be the men that the children will look up to. You cannot be shouting and screaming at us in front of the children and you expect that we will be the authority that the children are looking up to. And you may have all the children for you. You say, these are my children, but one day they are going to need a father. And I always tell people that, you see, even a useless father, as you may call him, he may still be useful by when you can just use him as a scarecrow. Wait until your father comes back. I get this from old shirts. We tie them and put them in the rice gardens, and they are wasted, but they can still scare off the birds.
Yes.
I would rather you have a useless father than have no father for the children, because at the end of the day, actually you can build your man to what my wife built me to be the man I am. And of course, I was trying, but when you find my wife would buy stuff for the children and say, I bought for the children. And that put me under pressure to grow up and begin doing stuff like that. And she never put me under pressure at all. So, but men, in case you don't have a reasonable wife like my own, be around, be available, be smart, also be good company, and make sure that your kids miss you when you're away from home. And they will help you to ask their mother, but why did you throw away our father in your old age? May God bless you all. It's always an honor to be back on UBC, because this is where it's real.
Thank you so much. Now you've had it from my friend, my guest over here, Pastor Sam Mukabi, and you can follow him on Facebook, on Twitter. He's always there, Sam Mukabi Zema. Yes. Sam Mukabi Zema, he's on Facebook. You need counseling, you need all that. You can reach out to him and get all the details. Otherwise, guys out there, whatever it takes, ladies out there, let's parent. Let's lead these kids to where they ought to go in the fear of God. Marriage is easy, ignorance is hard.
Unlocking marital bliss.